The 49ers have been making some big free agency moves. Is there another big one coming up? We're going to touch on that and more in today's 49ers Roundtable. Hey, everybody. Welcome to Inside the 49ers. I'm Jack Hammer. Thanks for joining the channel. Tonight, we're going to do something a little bit different. Usually I only have one guest at a time on here or you're stuck looking at my face. Tonight, we're going to be doing a roundtable, and this is going to be a new thing on Thursday nights where we're going to get a bunch of different 49ers fans, content creators, and we're going to talk about your favorite team and have a good time doing it. And we're going to kind of go rapid fire style with different topics and questions. So it should be a lot of fun. Real quick, just so to kind of introduce everybody, we got Brandon Peebler up in the corner next to me. Then down to, I guess, left of me in the bottom there is everybody knows Barry a Baller, big Bay Area Baller YouTube there.
What's up, Jack?
There you go. How you doing, Baller?
Hey, I'm feeling good. Glad to be here, ready to talk some ball. I'm meeting Brandon and Pete kind of for the first official time. Just ready to talk some ball.
Absolutely. And then below, right here, right in the spot next below me there is Big Pete Lucas. How you doing, Pete?
Hey, what's going on, Jack? I'm stoked to be here. Like Bay Area Baller was saying, like first time going with a few of you. Like I've gone on with Jack a few times, but yeah, just stoked to be here talking 49ers.
Absolutely. And Brandon, I'm sorry I spoke over you. I didn't know if you had something you wanted to throw out real quick.
No, just excited to be here. Hey, we get to talk about our favorite team that we love about. Like how much better can it be right now? This is awesome.
Perfect. And everybody's got channels, and I think you can find all of them with just looking at the names that are on the screen. You can, if you do a search on there here on YouTube, you'll be able to find their channel. So make sure you check it out. Let's take a look real quick. There's a couple of things over in the comment section. I want to hit those up real quick. The caretaker comes in. He says, hammer that like button on your way in. Yes, please do. Hit that like button and hit it early, hit it often. And then also, Daryl Swanson says La'el Collins. Ooh, that's a name that I have not thought of in terms of a free agent acquisition.
Well, I saw a rumor. He could be cut here by the Bengals.
Okay, so let's get into it. That's not even one of our topics, but real quick, let's just go around the horn. I'll start with you, Baller, because you shot it out first. What have you heard?
I hear that the Bengals are indeed looking to cut La'el Collins. At least it's a rumor I read on Twitter, and I would absolutely be interested if I'm the Niners. When I saw the notification, I went and looked at his PFF scores, whatever it is. He's got really good run blocking grades every year. We're talking 80, 90 run blocking grade. The pass blocking wasn't very good this year. At least that's what PFF thought of him. But previously, 2021, 2020, he was also a good pass blocker. So at right tackle, and he's got a lot of experience at right tackle. So absolutely, you give him a call.
That's the thing. That's what the 49ers like to do. How about you, Brandon? What do you think?
Yeah, no, I think if he's out there, obviously by the right price, because only $6 million in cap space right now, have a rookie class that the 49ers are going to have to sign here in about a month. But I mean, that's a vet guy with a great run blocking grade. I think it would be a great fit. Obviously, you gotta make that call. I don't know if we got our right tackle right now or not.
How about you, Pete? What do you think?
Well, I mean, I think that there's a reason that they're thinking about cutting him. I don't really, with all the things that happened with Purdy and all the quarterback injuries, I don't know that, like we just said, that he doesn't have the greatest of pass blocking, but we know Shanny doesn't really care about pass blocking, to be honest. So it's always a possibility, but I think that I just think that the 49ers are going to go into the draft looking for their next big guy. I think they probably have a little bit of faith in Colton McKivitz just because he's been there already.
Okay. So yeah, and we'll talk a little bit more about Colton McKivitz here in just a second. And hey, if La'el Collins is a guy they can bring in at a decent price to come in and compete, and maybe push McKivitz a little bit, you do it, because McKivitz can still be your swing guy. You might go that direction in the draft as well. So if you can make it fit within the salary cap, you go out and do that. Brandon, I think, mentioned the salary cap and the need to bring in have enough cap room for that rookie class. I saw something from Field Yates today on Twitter who said that the 49ers cap space right now is at $3.8 million. They can, just so you know, just to kind of remind everybody, right now, the top 51 contracts are all that matter. So it's got to fit under that top 51 rule. And the 49ers, if they were to take all 11 draft picks, their 11-man draft class, based on the top 51 rule, would cost $3.12 million. So they could actually not make any changes, go into the draft all 11 guys, sign all 11 guys, and still be under the cap as it is today. Now, that's going to change. The 49ers also have about $40 to $45, $50 million in cap space they could free up if they choose to. Go to Christian McCaffrey. They can go to Trent Williams, George Kittle, Eric Armstead. Those are their big four in terms of the contracts that they could move money around. If they were to maximize and to blow that out and really screw up their cap for years down the road, they could do that if they want. And then they also have Nick Bosa coming up, which would be $45 to $50 million. So, for the $45 to $50 million in total cap space for the team. So there's room to make it if they want to go make a big splash signing like we're going to talk about later. But there's enough there. They have enough space as it is right now to get their draft class in. And if they're signing guys on the minimum deals, they can probably fit in another 4 or 5 guys before they even have to really worry about freeing up more space. So we'll see how it goes. We got some other folks in here. We got Rashad Shirazi says, "What's up, everyone? Good to have you on board."
What's up?
And Larry Sawyer, he looks like he's a Bears fan. He says, "Already hammered it." There you go. Thank you, Larry. Thanks for hitting that like button for me. Let's get going. So the way that the round table works, we're going to throw out. We're not even going to throw out a question. We're just going to throw out a statement, and then we're going to go around, and we're either going to buy or sell. So I was playing around with this thing a little bit today. I got some cool new graphics I want to show you guys. They're going to be kind of small, but it's fun at the same time if I can find it. See, sometimes Jack's just a little slow on the draw. Boom, there we go. Buy or sell. That's what we're going to be doing tonight. And if the guys sell it, we're going to hammer that sell button. And if they like it, we're going to hammer the buy button. So we'll see how this works out today. It'll be a little bit of fun here. Let's go ahead, and we're going to start off with Brandon. He's going to be the first one that's going to be asked. Colton McKivitz, starting right tackle week 1.
I got to go big fat sell on this. I look at his contract. That's not starting right tackle money. I know that he's been around, but he hasn't played a full season for the 49ers. He's been, a utility guy. He's come in when there's been injuries. And I just think that there's enough free agents out there, possibly even in the draft, that somebody might be able to come in and compete for that starting right tackle spot. I just don't see Colton McKivitz holding on to it for the entire season. He might come out week 1 starter, but I don't know if he's going to be the guy all the way through the season.
Okay. So okay, go ahead. I'm sorry, Ball.
No, my bad, Jack. But I'm with Brandon here. In this situation, I'm taking the field. I feel like there's still some free agents out there that I'm eyeing. I'm really looking at Cameron Fleming. Last I checked yesterday, Cameron Fleming, he was the starting right tackle for the Broncos last year. He was solid across the board. So I'm looking at some guys out there thinking, I want to aim to get better, right? The goal of the offseason is to improve, right? And going from McGlinchey to McKivitz, it seems like maybe it's a lateral move. Maybe it's a downgrade, probably some would argue. But if you can get a guy like a Cameron Fleming or, third round pick you don't know what tackles are going to be yards, starting caliber tackles in the third round. But in this situation, give me the field at right tackle.
Okay. How about you, Pete?
I am on the fence, but I think I'm gonna give it a sell just because, like Bay Area Baller was saying, I think I'm gonna take the field. There's just too many options. So it's Colton McKivitz. They made it work with Colton McKivitz. They've made it work with Tom Compton at right tackle.
Oh, don't remind me.
That's true.
Don't remind me.
And he played. I mean, honestly, he did just as good as McGlinchey did. To be honest, during that stretch. So it's not to say that that's a whole season. We wouldn't expect it for a whole season, but who's to say that they can't draft somebody? I think we're all going to find out once the draft happens. Either they're going to get somebody during the draft, like free agency, a free agent, or trade for somebody, or they're going to draft someone. And if they don't, by the end of that draft, I think we're all going to know that they're ready to run with Colton McKivitz. But I'm going to sell it. I think that they're either going to draft someone or they're going to pick up somebody to at least compete in camp.
I just have this image of Reddick coming around that right side, and that's kind of how our season ended, and I just have a hard time thinking that we don't try to upgrade that position,
Hey,
going from Colton. I don't know.
If Purdy had just thrown the ball a second earlier, it would have never happened, right? That's what Kyle said.
Yeah, it's true.
Or maybe if it wasn't a tight end that was doing it instead, right?
Yeah.
I'm buying it. I'm buying that Cole McKivitz is going to be the starting right tackle week 1. Now, is he going to be the starting right tackle throughout the entire season? I don't know. But I'm with you guys, too. I do think that they're going to draft a guy. The name that's really popular around 49ers Twitter right now is Blake Freeland out of BYU. That's the name you keep seeing. I liked everything about him prior to the combine. I thought this was a guy that athletic-wise fits the 49er style. We'll see if they decide to go in that direction or they go somewhere else. I do think McKivitz will be the starting right tackle week 1. Now, is he the starting right tackle in week 7 or 8? That's a different story. But I think week 1, he's probably the guy, unless that rookie can come in and command the room like Spencer Burford did last year. That's the name that none of us mentioned either, is that if Colton McKivitz isn't your starting right tackle week 1, it might be Spencer Burford, because they just signed a guy named John Feliciano who can play right guard.
Yeah, the new Brunskill.
Yeah, I have a feeling. I don't know if they expect him to be the new Brunskill as much as I think that he could possibly jump into that starting lineup. And if he does, then I should probably be selling this and saying that it's going to be Burford at right tackle. Maybe I should have thought this out a little bit more before I started talking.
Yeah.
All right, let me jump in. There was one in the comment section already as well. I wanted to make sure that I hit, because Big Luke Walsh, he was joining in here, and he said that he is selling it. According to Luke Walsh, who checks out the 49ers Press Democrat blog all the time, Luke says, sell. I think Shanahan has other plans for right tackle. Noted.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so let's take a look. The next one coming up, and we're gonna go from the trenches out to the outside. Brandon Ayuk is going to be the leading receiver for the 49ers in 2023. This time we're going to start with Pete.
I think I'm buying this because he was our top wide receiver last year. So I don't know why it would change. And I think that we're going to get – I'm a big Trey Lance fan, and I think that he's going to get a chance to show what he can do. I don't care who's really starting at quarterback. I think that Brandon Ayuk is just the best wide receiver that we have on this team. So I'm gonna buy that.
Yeah, I hear you, Pete, but I'm selling it. Okay. I'm looking at Deebo Samuel. Man, how explosive was Deebo Samuel, in 2021 or 2022 rather. Last year, we know it was a disappointing season. He was banged up. Sorry, pardon me.
That's Brandon calling you right now. He's saying, I just heard you talking about Deebo now.
Brandon's not happy about it. But at Deebo. I'm looking at Deebo. I want a Deebo resurgence. I just know this guy. We see how explosive he is. He had the 1,400 yards. That's what got him paid. And I think he's going to get back to that standard. It's probably going to be close. It's going to be close between the two because they're both really good and talented. But I'm going back to Deebo.
Man, I love that, man. I'm going to go with a buy on this one. First of all, he's got a tremendous first name. Okay. I think we can all agree that Brandon's always good, but he is one of the best route runners, not just on the 49ers, but in the entire league, in my opinion. I think he is really explosive. And I think what we saw from him last year, I think it's just the tip of the iceberg and what he's going to bring in year 4 to this offense. We've seen it doesn't matter who's the quarterback, right? To your point, Pete. Doesn't matter if it's Lance, doesn't matter if it's Purdy. He's been a big target over the middle and gets that yak. And I really like him as our top target going into 2023.
So we got 2 guys who are buying it, and we got 1 seller, correct?
That's what we got.
All right. Well, it's going to be a split one on this one because I'm selling this one. I think Ayuk is not going to be the leading receiver for the Farmers. I go with Baller on this one. I think it's going to be time for Deebo to step back up. Deebo Samuel missed part of training camp last year, just wasn't fully healthy. Plus, the other thing with Deebo Samuel last year, I think part of the reason his numbers were down was the way they were utilizing him. We didn't see him going over the middle as much as we had, in years past. We didn't see him being utilized on those over routes, on those crossers, and those types of things where he's able to catch and run. It was a lot more screens, really short things where it was all about yak with him. The few times that they did get him the ball down the field, he looked like the old Deebo Samuel. So I'm going to say it's going to be Deebo as the leading receiver for the 49ers in 2023, beating out Brandon Ayuk. I don't know. Some people are thinking he might not even be a happy camper right now because of some tweets and comments that he's been making out there.
I'll tell you what, if Debo's the leading receiver, that's going to be a phenomenal year that the 49ers offense is going to have with all the weapons that are out there for sure.
There you go. Sure. It's going to be a lot of fun. I think the wide receiver room is going to be good, and whoever the quarterback is, that's going to be we'll see how that plays out as it goes around. We're going to get to that quarterback spot here in a few minutes. So let's go to the next one. Buy or sell. 49ers are going to trade up from round 3. They're going to trade out of round 3, really, is what this is saying. What do you think, Brandon?
You know, I think with 11 draft picks and the type of the roster that they have, it's going to be really tough for some of these later round draft picks to even make the team, I think. So I think if there's a guy that they really, really like early, especially at that right tackle position, I think that they go ahead and they package up some of those picks. And I think we could see them move up into round 2 potentially. Last year was the first time John Lynch hadn't really moved up, right? So I'm definitely buying that. Thanks for that emoji there. But you know, last year he was kind of quiet, and I see there a lot of aggressiveness happening. We know how close the 49ers are, been in 3 out of 4 NFC championship games. And I just think if there's going to be somebody in this draft that they really like, that they're going to package up some picks and go get them.
Perfect. What's the
that was compelling, Brandon. That was compelling. Although, let me tell you, I'm selling. Okay. I want the 3 swings at the end of the 3rd round. It's so darn expensive to trade up. Like if you would literally have to trade all 3 of those 3rd round picks, and you might be able to get to the end of the 2nd round. Like it's just so expensive. Give me the 3 swings in the 3rd round, because I want a defensive end or a D tackle. I feel like I want an offensive lineman, preferably a tackle, and then, maybe a tight end. Give me the 3 swings at the end of the 3rd.
They've been pretty good in the 3rd round too, by the way.
My turn. Yeah. So I am buying this just because I hear what everybody's saying about, it's really hard to trade up. But this is the thing. It's not just this season's draft picks that they can trade. It's next season's, and they have their 1st, their 2nd back next season. They are also going to have a whole bunch of comp picks next season to trade away. So I think that they package a few of next year's picks with maybe 101 and 102 to trade up into that, either the top of the 3rd or into that bottom of that 2nd round. So I think I'm going to buy this one.
Yeah, it's expensive to move up. Once you get down into the lower rounds, to go from like 3 to 2, that takes a lot of picks. But that's a good point you just made, Pete, in terms of getting their 1st round pick next year again back, their 2nd round, having a little bit of ammo, maybe using some of their futures, those types of things. As far as trading up outside of the 3rd round, like end of round 2, I'm going to sell that one. I don't think they're going to be able to jump up that far, unless they use a player. If they use a player, that might be able to be enough to catapult them up there. But I just don't see the 49ers having enough draft picks or wanting to get rid of so many picks in order for them to get all the way up to the back end of round 2. Because I think that's pretty much getting rid of all of those 3rds, or maybe a couple of those 3rds and a high round pick in next year's draft to do that. So I would say I'm going to sell it. I do think there's a possibility that they trade up. I just don't know if they trade up out of the 3rd round. That's where I'm not sure. Moving on, let's get to the next one. We're starting to pick up. We're on the draft. I saw some people talking about, we got 3 picks that are all revolving around the draft. So we just talked about the 49ers trading up in round 3. 49ers, are they going to use all 11 draft picks? They have 11 picks. Are they going to use them all, Pete?
Well, I just said that they're going to try and draft up. So I'm going to sell that. I think that in the past, before last season, every draft they had moved all around the draft. So I think that they go at least a little bit back to that mantra, and they start trading all around the 3rd and 4th round. And so yeah, I'm gonna sell that. I think they're gonna probably get about eight. I'm gonna probably think about 8 picks.
Okay.
Yeah, it sounds about right. I'm with you here, Pete. I'm selling. I don't think they're touching the 3rd round picks, but I could see, moving up we got some 6s, some 7s, packaging some of those, probably just to move up a little bit. If you really got your eyes on a guy and you think maybe someone ahead of you is going to snag him, then you want to jump him. So I'm selling it because I think they're going to move up in the later rounds.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd sound like a real jerk if I didn't sell this one, right? I just said that we're going to move up into maybe the second round. I'm definitely going to sell this. I think 11 draft picks, it's a lot of ammunition to be able to do a lot of different things in the draft. I don't think that they use all of them on draft picks and draft 11 players, but I think they package up a few and get some guys that they want. Maybe I like that number, Pete. 8 sounds about right to me.
Yeah, that sounds about right. When I look at this, I'm going to sell it as well. I don't think they're going to use all 11. We'll see how many they use. I would say this: they're definitely, even if they do use 11 picks, it's not going to be the 11 picks that they have today. The 49ers do a really good job, I think, with moving around to get the guys that they want. They have targets. They kind of let them fall to a certain point, what have you. If there's a player that they really like that starts to fall, that's when they're like, oh, boom, I'm going to go grab him right now before somebody jumps in front of me. So I don't think they're going to use all 11. I think you're going to see the 49ers move and bounce around the board. So I don't think we'll see 11. I think that 8 number sounds about right. I think Pete threw that number out earlier. So I could see 8, 9. We'll see how many guys they have in free agency, how many undrafted free agents are going to bring in after the end. But I could see 8 being the magic number when it comes to the draft picks for the 49ers this year.
Mm-hmm. They had 9 last year. They did 9 last year, I believe. So I wouldn't be surprised if it was 9. But yeah, either way.
There you go. See, you keep picking me up. Make sure you get me on the right all the right information. Sometimes I forget. All right. So the next one, here we go. This one's going to be Brandon's going to have to start us off on this one.
I'm excited.
49ers are going to draft a quarterback this year.
Oh man. I'm going to go with sell on this one. They've insulated the quarterback room quite a bit, and I think outside of Lance, Purdy, and Darnold, I mean, they might bring in a camp arm, and I can see somebody like Josh Johnson. But as far as drafting a guy, I just can't see them wasting a pick on it this year because of everything that's going on in the quarterback room and who they have and who they've invested money into. So I'm going to sell this one.
Okay. Yeah, I'm with you here, Brandon. I'm selling it. I do not think the Niners are going to draft a quarterback. Brock Purdy, Trey Lance, you got these 2 tremendously talented young quarterbacks. You bring in Sam Darnold, the former top 5 pick, who, he's never had weapons like this that they have in San Francisco. That being said, you got 3 that you're going to carry, into week 1. And, Kyle never has 3 quarterbacks active on game day, but they'll carry 3. So I don't see it this year. I don't think they're drafting a quarterback.
I'm going to buy. I am going to buy. I think they're saving that very last pick they got at 255. To take if Dugan or Haener ends up at the end of the still there, sitting there in front of him, I don't think that Shanny's going to be able to resist because he just loves a good Purdy type quarterback. So I think I can completely see it. I'm going to buy it. I just think that they, like you said, they needed a camp. They're going to need a camp body. And at the very least, Shanny just wants to give a kind of a middle finger to all the fans anyway. So
he's going to go back to the well for that.
Yeah, exactly.
That last pick, right?
This is an interesting one because I can go both ways. I might even have to bust out this one. I just have to buy and sell for myself, right? I haven't let you guys have that one. Maybe I'll have to do that one. No, but I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to hammer the buy on this one. I think the Flyers are going to draft a quarterback, and here's the reason why. We don't know exactly. I know they have a better idea than we do right now with how Brock Purdy is and what their thoughts are and how he's going to be around. But I have a feeling that if Brock Purdy isn't around week 1, not week 1, but week 1, week 2 of training camp, they're going to want to have another guy. I know that you guys did mention maybe a camp arm would be brought in. I think Brandon and Baller both mentioned those possibilities there. But the 49ers don't want to have just 2 quarterbacks in camp because one, you run 3 teams usually in practice. So you need to have 3 quarterbacks. Otherwise you're doubling up one guy. So I do think you're going to see the 49ers draft a quarterback. I like both the names that were mentioned. Haener and Duggan. I know that Haener, a lot of people are talking about him because he's a local guy from the Bay Area, Fresno State. If he's not there, then Duggan is really my second favorite because of, again, he's kind of like Purdy in terms of a guy that's been around. He's seen a lot of ball, played in a pretty good conference, actually the same conference I believe as Purdy came from. So you can, I think he's a guy that can fit. A guy that from everything I've read about and seen is he's going to hit those open receivers that the 49ers get so much. So I would say the 49ers are going to draft a quarterback. Go ahead and buy that son of a gun.
Mm-hmm. I'm thinking they're going to bring in an undrafted guy to be that camp body.
It could be.
There's a loophole right there, right? The undrafted free agent, right?
Yeah, exactly.
That's what I think might happen. Yeah, exactly.
Or they could just bring back Josh Johnson.
Don't, please. I can't see that guy anymore.
Josh, Josh Johnson. There's nothing wrong with Josh Johnson as a camp body.
He's just got to get the ball out in a couple of seconds earlier.
We just need, as long as it's in the camp and it's fine, you're fine.
Not
there.
the NFC Championship game.
We'll see what direction, how this whole thing plays out. The quarterback spot's going to be one of those. It's going to be a lot of fun. I can't wait till we get to OTAs so that we can start talking about how these guys are practicing. Because you guys are going to hate me when I tweet out their camp stats. Everybody's going to start yelling at me like they did last year. But it's. Man, that's just such a funny thing too, because we did the same I did exactly the same thing in 2021, and everybody loved it, and then they all hate it in 2022. I have a hard time figuring out why that's the case. I'm not sure. I mean, I kind of have a little bit of an idea of why that might be, but we'll just leave it at that.
It wouldn't be San Francisco without a quarterback controversy,
exactly.
Right?
49er Twitter is a fickle mistress, I tell you.
It is.
49ers Twitter is a happy place, according to a report that we saw earlier this week.
If you love chaos, yes.
Right. Hey, that's right. Baller's response was exactly the response of most people that are on 49ers Twitter when they saw that report. All right, so that's we're talking quarterbacks, and since we're kind of starting to get into a little bit, let's throw it out there. Here we go.
It's a big one.
Trey Lance. He's going to be the week 1 starter. I think it's Pete that's starting us off here, right, Peter?
I am absolutely buying this. I think I have a lot of confidence in Trey. I think that he has been, in my opinion, he's been misused, and I don't think that they've done right by Trey. But I think that he's going to show up and show out in OTAs and as much as he possibly can. And I don't think Purdy's going to be ready week 1. I don't think Sam Darnold is going to be ready week 1, not knowing the offense and learning everything. So, yeah, I think by default, it's going to be Trey Lance.
I'm with you here, Pete. I'm buying this. Trey Lance is going to start week 1. I want to see Lance on the field, man. He's got all the tools. He's got the cannon. The mobility is there, but you don't want to use him as just a pure runner. Let him scramble, let him get out there, see the field, because when you're scrambling, it's easier to see everything in front of you. You can slide, you can get out of bounds and whatnot. But Trey Lance is going to start week 1. I'm not sure Brock Purdy doesn't start the year on the short-term IR. Maybe he misses the first 4, and I think Trey Lance deserves 3 or 4 games. Let's see what this kid's got. You invested all this draft capital to go up and get him. He hasn't played back-to-back games yet. So I want to see Lance play. Preferably, I want to see him get, 3 or 4 games just to start the year. If it's not looking good, pivot to Purdy if he's ready, okay? But you don't want to rush Purdy. You got Lance. We want to see what this kid's got. So I'm thinking Lance gets the first 3 or 4 games, and if he's lighting it up, maybe you don't want to take Lance off the field. If he's struggling, then hey, you know what? Purdy, feel like Purdy's a good quarterback. What he displayed last year was really good. I want to find out if Trey Lance could be great.
Yeah, this is a really fun question to have March 23rd, but we know how uptight we're all going to be middle of August to go in that first week of September, because we really want to know the answer. I definitely think by default, because of the health of Brock Purdy, that Trey Lance is going to have an opportunity to get out there. Now, there's a whole onion that you got to peel back there. How long is his leash, right? If it doesn't go well, I want to see him have an opportunity. I really think that he's got a tremendously high ceiling with all the attributes and how athletic he is. He's got a cannon of an arm, and I want to see what he's able to do. So I definitely am buying this week 1 starter. But man, it's going to be real tough if it's a monsoon game, right? And Brock Purdy's healthy week 2. What's that going to look like? But week 1, I think we go in with Trey Lance.
You guys are all saying the same thing. You guys are all buy. Hey, I'm gonna come in. I'm gonna get the right one. I'm gonna get it right. I'm gonna say sell. I'm selling it. Trey Lance not gonna be the week 1 starter. And here's the only reason why I say this. First off, I'm saying it because the 3 of you all said the same thing. Somebody's got to be different in this group. and the reason that Trey Lance isn't the week 1 starter, if he's not the week 1 starter, is because Brock Purdy comes back sooner than everybody expects. Now, here's the thing. If you go the full 6 months, if that's a 24-week deal from the time that he got the surgery till the time that he's able to return, he'd return the day after the final preseason game, which would put him back about 2 weeks before the season starts. Now, the other thing is, not very many people have had this surgery when it comes to football players. All the numbers that we know are based off of baseball players, and throwing a baseball is much harder on your elbow, much harder on your with your throwing motion, because that ball is so much lighter on a baseball and that torque that you throw, especially at the end of the throw, is where the most of that UCL gets injured when they're throwing. Football, much heavier. You're not able to put as much of a torque on your arm as you're doing it. Nick Mullins had the same surgery. He was cleared after 5 months. If the same thing happens with Brock Purdy would actually be cleared like right after the first week of training camp. So if that happens, then we have then it's chaos. If Brock Purdy's back, if Brock Purdy is back after 5 months and in time for like a big part of training camp, you have chaos, because now it's Lance against Purdy against Darnold. It's just madhouse in Santa Clara on a regular basis during those 3 weeks. And the other thing too, even if he's not practicing until that 6 month mark, officially practicing, he's going to be in Santa Clara. He's doing the majority of his rehab work in Santa Clara with the 49ers training staff. It's not like he's not going to be throwing the ball. They're going to be seeing him throw the ball from about June on. That June, right around the time of minicamp, is when he's going to be able to start throwing again. Now, he's not going to be throwing a regular football. If you've seen some of the videos that have floating around Twitter with Nick Mullins during his rehab, you'll see some of the ways that he was brought back. But I think this is a deal where it's going to be really interesting. And again, you guys all said buy, so I went sell. You guys could probably, there's as good a chance of all you guys being right as me being wrong. Probably a better chance of you guys being right and me being wrong on this one. And I like what you said, like Pete and Baller and Brandon, you all kind of mentioned Lance needs the reps. You just need to see this guy play.
Yeah,
exactly.
He hasn't had a chance to play, and it'll be interesting to see how it all works out. This is a guy who, he shows the flashes. That's one of the things. If we just take a step back for a minute and don't just talk about Trey Lance, but talk about the 49ers as a whole. The 49ers have a lot of guys on this roster right now who are guys that you could say flash, Lance, Clelin Ferrell a little bit, the guy they just picked up yesterday as one of those flashy kind of guys who's flashed at times.
Austin Bryant. Can I just touch on him? I had never heard of the guy until we signed him, and I just put on like some highlight. This dude's got some pass rushing moves. Like for a flyer, I'm sure he's dirt cheap. And I went in with relatively low expectations, and after watching his highlight reel, Jack, got me pretty fired up.
Yeah.
It's the Kasurik factory. Like it is what it is. Like if you're touched, once you're touched by Kasurik, like it's like the heavens open up and all the light bulbs go off, and they turn into Arden Keys and Amenahus and all those guys.
Yeah, you're blessed with 3 more pass rush moves.
Exactly.
The whole thing with Bryant seems to be health, because he was actually healthy in 2020 when he played 13 games, and when he played 13 games, guess what happened? He got 4.5 sacks. Only time he got sacks in his career, but he got 4.5 sacks that year. So, if he can stay healthy, that's the other thing with the 49ers. They have some guys at key positions that you're asking if they can stay healthy. Most of those guys are backups, but those are where the questions are coming from. If he can be healthy, there's some tools there for Kasarik to work with to make him a player that they can get something out of. So we'll see. We'll see how that works. There was a comment over here. I got to hit on this one. This is, if Brock Purdy isn't the starting quarterback week 1, I'm blaming Luke because he was apparently he was in the room when it happened with Brock Purdy's UCL incision, and he says that he dropped a junior mint right into that. That's Luke, I don't know what I'm going to do with you. If you guys don't know this, what Luke's talking about, you guys need to turn on some Seinfeld.
You just got to save it for evidence.
That's right. Hey, you have a fresh elbow with that minty arm,
Yeah.
Well, hey, there you go. He's fresh arm, minty arm, all those things. And if you don't know what it is, you need to watch some Seinfeld, because that's one of the classic episodes is the junior mint landing in the surgery room.
I'm old enough to remember it.
I got a question for you guys real quick, since we're talking about Trey Lance. I don't want to go down a rabbit hole, but if he is not the week 1 starter, is that over before it even begins? The Trey Lance era in San Francisco? If he does not win that quarterback job?
I guess you got to start fielding offers.
Exactly.
It's a big deal if he doesn't.
Yeah.
I think that if he doesn't.
I think that they hold on to him at least until that trade deadline, just in case.
Yeah.
Just in case. And then after when that comes up, then I could see them at that point. But I don't think it's going to come to that. I think Trey Lance is going to show up and show out.
He's got the ability to, that's for sure.
I'm telling you, if they give him the Purdy and the Jimmy game plan, I think that he could show a lot of people a lot of things.
We'll see. Well, and Luke comes back in real quick. He wants to redeem himself. He says it's not his fault. Apparently, and who? Of course, this is what happened. David Lombardi screwed it up. Look at Lombardi.
He was making a spreadsheet.
Yeah,
probably typing away, and boom, he hits Luke's arm. The junior mint floats right into Purdy's elbow, and it's. Oh, come on, David, pay attention. All right. There we go. That was some fun. Good stuff, Luke. Thanks for the highlights there. All right, now we got to get into the big boys. Got to get into the big guys up front. The guys that are, according to the 49ers, they're the ones that make the money for you. Here we go. The next one up. Javon Hargrave, 10+ sacks this season.
Is it Pete?
Is it me?
Yeah, I think it's Peter.
Okay. So Javon Hargrave I'm going to sell this. And the reason why I'm going to sell it is because I feel like Eric Armstead is going to be the one with 10 sacks, like on the other side of him. I think the last time Eric Armstead had a monster next to him in DeForest Buckner, he was the one that got 10. So I think I'm going to go with Eric Armstead on this one, and I'm going to sell.
Okay. All right, Pete. I hear you. I'm looking at Javon Hargrave. 10 plus 10's a big number. He did have 11 last year with the Eagles.
Mm-hmm.
That being said, I'm going to sell it. All right. I think he's going to get 8 or 9. I think he's just going to come up just short of 10. And what I will say is I've been watching the Javon Hargrave tape when he was with Philly. Actually, I just put out an all 22 video breaking down a couple games. The way Philly was able to use him in that 5-man front, the Niners can't quite use him the same way. Like, they were lining him up almost at like the zero tech right over the center, getting one-on-one matchups with the center. And Javon Hargrave is so damn powerful. He's just pushing the center back and grabbing onto the quarterback with one hand. Now, with the Niners 4-man front, he's not going to get the same quite matchups. So he's going to have a good year. The dude's a really talented player, but I think he's going to come up short. Sell.
I am going to sell this as well. It sounds great. I would love for him to have 10+ sacks. But the reason I'm going to sell this is because I think the reason that they brought him in, and Bay Area Baller, you hit the nail on the head, is in that wide 9 technique that the 49ers utilize. Javon Hargrave is going to eat up a ton of double teams, which is going to open up other guys. It's going to make it really tough for him to consistently get those sack numbers. Now, if it was assists, I bet you he has 25 assists when it comes to sacks, because quarterbacks are gonna be spinning out of that collapsing pocket right into Nick Bosa and whoever's at the other edge, whether it be Drake Jackson, Clelin Ferrell, or even Armstead on the other side. So I think he eats up a lot of double teams. He might not come up with the 10 plus sacks, but I think he might be right around 8. I think that's a good number for him after eating up all those double teams.
You guys all agree too much, dang it. And I'm going to have to agree with you on this one too. I'm going to have to sell this Sunder too. I can't in good conscience say that I'm going to buy this one because I just don't see it happening. There's too many. I think what's going to happen is he's on a team last year. Last year that was a record season out in Philadelphia. All those guys, 72 sacks or whatever that number was. I don't think it's going to be that high with the 49ers. I could say this though. I could maybe between Javon Hargrave and Eric Armstead, you could see probably 18 sacks to 18 to 20 sacks out of those two. Maybe Eric Armstead is the guy that gets home a little bit more often. I love this signing for the 49ers. Javon Hargrave is a guy that he totally changes the way that we look at this 49ers defensive front. The guy plays around 70 snaps per season, 70% of the snaps, getting a little too fast with my talking here, but about 70% of his snaps he's playing. And same thing with Eric Armstead when he's healthy, and the same thing with Nick Bosa when he's healthy. We're used to the 49ers really rotating guys around, and they have 3 guys that can play the majority of the game. And so it's going to be interesting to see how that all works out. And maybe they have some good depth behind them. Maybe if they give these guys a little bit of a blow every once in a while, a little bit more than they have in the past, they all could come out and have better years. So I'm looking forward to it. I just don't see Hargrave himself getting to 10 or more. I think he's going to be that 8 to 9 number. Sounds kind of like the high side. Some of that happens to do with because of the fact that you have Nick Bosa too. When you get a guy getting 18 and a half sacks who's leading the league, that's going to take some sacks away from other people. So I am selling that Hargrave's going to get 10 plus sacks, but I think he's going to be a heck of addition for the 49ers. The 49ers, when they've been at their best, you go through their history, their Super Bowl teams always had multiple guys in the middle that were really good. 2019, Buckner and Armstead. Back in 2012, you had Smith and Ray McDonald. McDonald was a really good interior pass rusher that people don't remember because it was just a short time that he was in San Francisco.
BY and Stubblefield.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Exactly.
Yeah, BY and Stubblefield in 94. Fagan and all those guys. Pierce Holt was just a hell of a pass rusher back in 88 and 89. People didn't really recognize. That's kind of when he started to hit the scene. He was a young guy. So they've always had really good interior pass rushers when they've been contenders. And one thing that quarterbacks hate, they hate pressure around the end, but I'll tell you what, they really hate it when it comes up their face because that's even worse.
I think it's going to make it better for Bosa. I'll be honest. I think it's because he's going to push the quarterback like right into Bosa's lap. I
agree. And Ian says here that there's going to be a Javon as an upgrade. I agree 100%. And 420 Savage as well. I want to throw that one in there too. He says defensive line will be taking us to the Super Bowl. Yeah, if the 49ers reach the Super Bowl, I think that defensive line is going to have a lot to do with it. It's how they build this team year after years. Their belief is you build through the defensive line, you build the defensive line back, and on the offensive side, offensive line back. And they've done a really good job of that so far. So.
Yeah, and a lot of people think that they build the defensive line to rush the passer, but they build it to stop the run to earn the right to rush the passer. And with Javon Hargrave, that's exactly what he does: is eat up those interior runs and make it real tough to get those yards per carry.
Yeah, really good point.
Next buy or sell. Getting to the end, 49ers are going to make another splash free agent signing. We talked about it a little bit earlier on. They only have about $6 million in cap space, but they can free up close to $50 million depending on how aggressive they want to be. 49ers going to make another big move?
You might put up that one where it says buy and sell, because I think that it might be a splashy move by the name, but the money wise, I don't think it's going to be there just because of where they're at. But I definitely think that there's going to be a name that gets brought in that we're all really, really excited about. So I guess that's more on the buy side, but I don't think it's going to be no $84 million contract as far as a big splash in that way.
No, I'd agree with you with that.
Yeah. I'm selling it. They're going to make a move. It's going to be like some baby splashes, like a mini splash. But Javon Hargrave was the cannonball splash that just emptied the pool. So I'm not anticipating anything.
That was a fat joke.
Huge. Yeah, that was the big boy.
Do not fat shame him.
But Man, it's like, yeah, some of these free agents out there do look pretty enticing when you're talking to Yannick Ngakoue, but it's like if you get a guy like Melvin Ingram, that'd be like a mini splash that would get me excited. So I'm selling it because it's a small splash.
Yeah.
So what I'm hearing you say, Baller, is that it's not going to be a cannonball splash, not going to be a big one, but it's going to be more like a Vern Troyer type of splash.
Yeah.
Precisely, Jack. Thank you.
Yes, I am selling because for I make one big move usually, and like that, or at least they have the last couple of years, and that's it. So I mean, 49er fans just need to get used to it, that this is what we get. We get the Cleveland Farrell, and we get the Austin can't even remember his last name.
Austin
Like
Bryant?
the guy that they just signed. And so you get those guys. Now, there's not really much out there to say anybody's going to be a splash move at this point, unless they got Lamar Jackson, which isn't, I don't even want to start that.
What about Jadeveon Clowney? Is Jadeveon Clowney
That's not a splash at this point. That's not a splash at this point. Like that,
I would consider that a splash. Brandon and Jack, is Clowney a splash?
He'd be a splash. Like you get
how many sacks has he had in the last 5 years?
Hey,
I don't think it's a splash.
No.
I think it's a splash because you talk about what that defensive line would look like, right? It's a name splash, right? That's what I'm kind of getting at is monetarily wise, I don't think it will, but if you get a Ngakoue, you get a Frank Clark, you get an Ingram or something like that, guys, we all know how excited we'd be over that. That's a splash, but monetarily, like big contract wise, not happening.
I think Ngakoue is the only one out of all of those that would be a splash, and I don't think they're going to do it just because he's moved around from team to team. Well, that too, because anytime the 49er fans talk about anybody, the front office goes the opposite direction. So
that's true.
But
it's an ice tub splash.
Yeah, exactly.
The more we talk about it, the less it's going to happen. Well, you guys are all selling it again, and I'm gonna change it up just because I've been talking about it, and I'm gonna throw this one out there because I'm gonna buy it, but I'm also gonna throw in why they're gonna buy it because it's a comment. We keep talking about this guy. He keep letting him come up on the show. We keep letting him comment on it, but he says that inside the Fires with Jack Hammer, says Luke, he says trades don't affect the 2024 compensatory formula, and that's right. And you guys already mentioned his name a little bit. The 49ers are going to make a major move. We talked about the quarterback situation. They're going to pick up Lamar Jackson this year. They're going to get Lamar Jackson.
Oh my goodness!
You heard it here first.
You did. I'm writing it down.
Hey, it makes sense, right? The 49ers haven't won a Super Bowl in 26 years. The last time they won a Super Bowl, they had an NFL MVP at quarterback. Every year that they've won the Super Bowl, they've had an NFL MVP at quarterback. It kind of takes that in today's day and age to win that game. There's not very often. They're far and few between when it's one of those guys that doesn't do it. I know the 49ers have been right on the doorstep with everybody's favorite quarterback, Jimmy G. They were right there last year with Brock Purdy. It's going to be a deal that's going to go down. 49ers are going to be able to fit it within the cap space. Hey, if you look at it, we talked about Trey Lance. 49ers are going to trade a third-round pick and Trey Lance and maybe next year's first-round pick for Lamar Jackson. They're going to bring him in here. They'll be able to fit him under the cap because it'll be about $15 million in cap space this year, probably about another 15 next year, and then it's going to start to escalate up from that. But quarterbacks, you can always, hey, the 49ers are the ones that showed everybody how to do this. Back when the salary cap first hit in 94 with Steve Young, they just kept, they played that right as long as they could with him. And then once he was gone, they did it with Jeff Garcia as well. You can manage around the cap with these guys if you like them enough and you have enough room. So from that standpoint, I'm going to say they're going to make a splash signing. Now, it's not really a signing. It would be a trade. Yeah, I know. It's a long shot. It's a super long shot. Really.
It will break 49ers Twitter if that happens.
Yes.
If that happens.
It will break Twitter.
It will break
Twitter. Because Baltimore Twitter is almost as demented as 49ers. Okay. So it would break Twitter altogether.
Pete's like, I have seen some stuff over there. I have seen some stuff.
Yes.
If that happens, the 49ers are breaking the NFL. I mean, right? Yeah. Because now they got a quarterback that can do all these things that Kyle Shanahan's been kind of messing around with Trey Lance, but is more of a runner than Lance is. And I think that Lamar Jackson's a better quarterback than a lot of people give him credit for.
Well, the AFC can't have all those guys over there. The NFC's got to start getting some of these quarterbacks. If Rodgers leaves, like who's over in the NFC now? Bring over Lamar Jackson.
Yeah. Well, real quick, and I gotta pull this one up. And this is Black 59 Razor, who I love this guy because every time I say his name, it makes me think of the 1989 Super Bowl, Joe Montana at center at the line of scrimmage. Black 59 Razor, Black 59 Razor, boom, and he hits a touchdown to John Taylor down the middle, right? And so he says Shanahan didn't want Cap. He's not going to want Jackson. My only thing to this is, what are you talking? And I'm gonna, you guys, if you watch my show enough, you know that I argue with my viewers every once in a while too. What are you talking about? I get he didn't want Cap, but he also went out and got a guy who he's playing just like he would have if he'd kept Cap in Trey Lance. So I don't think that's the case. His whole offense is built around a guy who can run the offense like Jackson could come in and he could throw all those open receivers just like these guys they have on their roster right now. And he's a better runner. So I think it could work.
Well, I believe Shanahan said his ideal quarterback was somebody who runs like Lamar Jackson, but throws the ball like Drew Brees. So, I mean, Jackson's half of that, right?
Yeah.
He's hard. He's half of that.
And then he could move Purdy in on passing downs.
There you go. And realistically, if we take a step back, do I think that the 49ers are going to get Lamar Jackson, Deshaun Jackson? Whew, that's a blast from the past. Lamar Jackson, no, I don't think they're going to get him. But it makes a ton of sense for them to do it if they wanted to. There's all kinds of arguments for it. They can make it work. I just don't see them pulling the trigger on something like this. I think they can make it work. I just don't think that that they're built to make this kind of an all-in move at this spot. I think that Shanahan likes to be the guy that runs the show a little bit more.
Yeah. So they're one of the few teams scheme-wise that it makes sense for Lamar Jackson because he could come in and I don't think the 49ers would have to change a ton based off of what they do with Trey Lance in there, right? So there's not a lot of teams that can say something like that when it comes to a Lamar Jackson type of talent at the quarterback position.
Yeah, there's no changes. They don't have to make any changes at all. It's already all built into their system.
Right.
That's the thing. Real quick, just kind of to backtrack, we're talking about. Pete mentioned, using Trey Lance as a quarterback, running that same package that like everybody else. We'll see. There was one day in practice last year, no fans. It was right after the fans got kicked out of training camp, and the 49ers went through an entire training camp practice running nothing other than zone read. That's all they did throughout the entire practice, and then they got down to the end zone and they worked on some red zone stuff. But that was the entire first, 3 quarters of the practice was zone read. So it was a big part of what they do. We'll see. The Trey Lance stuff, it's an interesting one to me. I've seen him play a lot more than most folks just because I've seen him practice so much, and I've seen everything I've seen in the practice has come out in games. And if that guy can get consistent, if Trey Lance can be consistent, watch out, because if he can get consistent, that's where it's going to be special.
Yeah.
The arm talent is just crazy.
Ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
All right. Last one. I didn't prep you guys before. This was one I didn't give you guys any heads up on it. It was one that
bring it on, Jack. Let's go.
But we're talking
about not agree to this.
We are talking about next big free agency move. We just talked about if they're going to make one. 49ers are going to sign Yannick Ngakoue. What do you think?
Is it my turn?
Yeah. You got this one, Pete. Bring him home, baby.
I just told you it's not going to happen. Like, it's just not going to. This guy, okay, so Ngakoue has been on how many teams in the last 3 years? I think he's been on 3 teams in 3 years. Right. There's a reason. I don't know what the reason is, and I'm not going to pretend like I know the man, but there's a reason why no team wants to solidify a spot for him on their team. And the 49ers are big on their culture. That's what I love the most about this Shanahan regime is that they really value the culture. And I just don't see them bringing in a mercenary. I just don't see it.
Yeah. Okay. Yannick Ngakoue, this is the defensive end, the speed rusher, the true Leo pass rusher that I feel like they've been looking for, that they wanted D Ford to be. Yannick is that guy. This dude, he's got a tantalizing array of pass rush. He's got this jump swipe where he swats the offensive lineman's hands away and he's jumping and then he's just bending the corner. Yannick is a special pass rusher. That being said, he doesn't play the run. Pull up his PFF grades. The guy is like allergic to run defense. But I would be all over Yannick Ngakoue. That being said, I don't think the Niners are going to cite him. But I want the Niners to get that true speed rusher because that's what I'm looking at in the draft. I've been trying to look at some defensive ends because I want that speed rusher that's bending the edge. Austin Bryant is intriguing. It's for a cheap signing. Like I like what I saw yesterday. But get a true speed rusher. Yannick would be that, but I don't think it's going to happen.
You know what? I'm going to buy this one. And the reason being is I think
I hope you're right. I hope you're right, B.
He's exactly what they
It better be
exactly
cheap.
what they need. He's got to be cheap. That's a key. But when you talk about sack production, that is one thing that Yannick Ngakoue does bring to the squad. Now, I know culture is a huge piece of it. And to your point, Pete, I'm not sure what's going on, why, these teams want to get rid of a guy that's, double-digit sacks almost every single year. There is a reason. Maybe it's money. And maybe he just wants to go to a team where he feels like that he can get some big time production because there's so many dogs on that defensive line. And he finds it a really nice situation, finds it a situation where he can go win a ring. And, those guys are out there. And I think Yannick Ngakoue is would be the perfect addition to our defensive line.
He would
so I'm going to buy this.
Would be. Yeah.
As a situational pass rusher, I could see it. But that would mean he would have to come in cheap.
Well, and what you just hit right there, Pete, that's the whole thing, Peter, is Yannick Ngakoue as a situational pass rusher. He's never had that role in his career. He's always been a guy who's played a lot of snaps. The closest he's gotten to that was when he was with Baltimore. He went from being a high 60% snap guy down to 59% during his time with the Ravens for that short period that he was there. Yeah, he's a guy who racks up sacks, 8, 9, 10 sacks a year. I just don't see the 49ers going this way. So I'm going to have to sell this one. Sell. I'm selling it. And the reason here is, again, it's just because of snaps. And I think the 49ers really like Drake Jackson. I think the 49ers believe in Drake Jackson more than the fan base does. You got to remember, Jackson last year in barely over 3. I don't even know if it was over 300 off of defensive snaps. It was pretty right in that number. It was low 300s though. If it was over 300, had three sacks in the first half of the year. He fell off. He got a little tired. This is also a guy who also got an interception. Remember, he helped turn the game around against the Raiders in week 17 of the season. So
batted passes too.
Yeah, Drake Jackson's a hell of a player, and I think the 49ers really think he's a guy that's going to step up. And a guy like Yannick Ngakoue, if they believe in that, he just doesn't fit because he needs to play. If you look at the numbers that 1 year that he was in when he was in Baltimore, like I said, he only played 59% of the snaps during his time there. He played about 330 snaps with them at that point. Guess how many sacks he got? I just told you because it was Drake Jackson's total 3. He got the same number as Drake Jackson in roughly the same number of snaps with the Ravens. He got roughly the same number of snaps that Drake Jackson got as a rookie in his first year with the 49ers. You add in Javon Hargrave, Eric Armstead healthy, Nick Bosa on their side, a guy coming back in year 2 who now has actually been going through a full offseason with the 49ers strength and conditioning staff to build himself up. Oh no, we just lost Baller. He got zapped. He must not have liked what I mean. See, he wanted Ngakoue. I said,
I don't want to hear about Drake Jackson.
He's like, freaking Jack, I'm out of here. No, I just don't. And that's the reason I just think that they are in with Drake Jackson. I mentioned this on Twitter yesterday. This is the reason why I said I just don't think, that he's a fit based off of the 49ers liking Drake Jackson if they do. And so it's a sell for me. Just don't think it happens. If it does, it'll be exciting. I mean, one thing that Baller did say before he got mad at me was that the guy's allergic to run defense. Again, that's another reason why I would see the 49ers maybe passing on because they don't like guys like that. They like guys that can do everything.
Yep. That's.
And there you go. I think we solved all the 49ers problems in the last 59 minutes. We got you all the information. We told you what's going to happen in terms of the big free agency move. We told you who the week 1 starter is going to be at quarterback. At least I did. And then because these other guys there, no, I'm kidding. It was a lot of fun. Just want to say thanks to everybody that tuned in. But before we go down that road, Pete, thank you so much for taking the time to do this.
Oh, for sure, Jack. I really appreciate it. I had a great time, and nice to meet you, Brandon. It was nice to meet the Barrier Baller, and I don't know why I'm stumbling over his name so bad, but it was good to meet him too. And Jack, always a pleasure. Anytime you need me, you just let me know.
Absolutely. No, we'll be doing this again. We're going to be doing these roundtables on a weekly basis. It's going to be a bunch of different names all the time, just because I want to get exposure for all the other people that are out there. So that's why we're going to do it on a rotating basis. But no, we'll definitely be back this offseason. Pete and Brandon, thank you so much for coming on. It was good to finally get a chance to talk to you for the first time.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I appreciate the opportunity. It's great to instead of just seeing 240 characters on Twitter and things like that, I appreciate the opportunity, and I'm always up to talk, 49er football or just football in general. I'm one of those X's and O's guys that just can't get enough. So
yeah, me too.
There you go. And really quick to everybody that's watching this, if they tuned in live or you're watching it after, you missed a great show as far as a live show. If you didn't watch us live, I think we had a lot of fun. One of the fun things about doing these shows is you guys can actually be a part of the chat and be a part of the show. If you have some good comments, we'll definitely be bringing them up as you saw tonight. Mm-hmm. So make sure you guys try to catch these things live. In order to do that, you got to hit the subscribe button. And when you hit the subscribe button, hit the little bell notification. That'll make sure you don't miss it when we go live. Perfect. Thanks, Brandon.
You're welcome. I got the sound effects for you right there.
Dude, you
got to be back just for the sound effect now.
Right there. See, I'll do it, man, every time.
There you go. So make sure you hit that bell. Do it again, Brandon. Ding. Make sure you hit the subscribe button and then hit the little bell notification. Ding. Perfect. Boom. Nailed it. Need more bell. And then last but not least, also hit that like button, because the like button is really what helps get the channel amplified, the shows amplified out for other people to take a look at. See, you got to let me stop talking though before you do the clicks and stuff. It works out there. Thanks a lot, everybody, for taking the time to tune in. Brandon, Pete, Baller, wherever you are. Thank you guys.
Appreciate it. Go Niners. Go Niners.
Go Niners.
There you go. So have a good night, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and we'll talk to you soon. Take care.